Meeting call to order. The time is 7 o'clock. Public portion of the meeting begins. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the rights of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act, the Business Administrator Board Secretary has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having a date, time, place, and place thereof posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, communicated to the Herald News, the Record, and filed with the clerk of the Borough of Hawthorne. Roll call, please.
Mr. Carter? Mr. Clavijo?
Here.
Ms. Ehrentraut?
Here.
Dr. Morell?
Here.
Mr. Palouse?
Here.
Mr. Rasher?
Here.
Mr. Shortway?
Here.
Mr. Tutaro?
Here.
Mrs. Cobb?
Here. Please join me for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Meeting regulations. During each regular meeting, 2 opportunities are provided for citizens to ask questions and to make comments. During the first opportunity early on the agenda, the meeting is open to the public for the purpose of addressing items listed for the approval on this agenda only. The second opportunity occurs just prior to adjournment, when citizens may address any subject matter that is pertinent to and or directly related to the operation of the school district. Persons wishing to speak must, upon being recognized, rise, state their name, address, and subject matter. Comments and questions shall be addressed to the board president or the presiding officer and shall be limited to 5 minutes per person. The board may or may not respond to issues raised by members of the public at the time they are raised, but will provide a response if and when appropriate. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Please note that the board will not respond to comments regarding students or board members or board employees in light of the privacy rights held by those individuals. Moreover, the board discourages comments about such individuals and will not be responsible for such comments. Members of the public who choose to speak during this public session should carefully consider their comments, since they could be held personally liable for any statements they make. Finally, please note that in accordance with district policy, the board will not officially comment or respond to any matter mentioned unless it can confirm that the matter has first been brought to the attention of the appropriate school personnel in an attempt to resolve the issue. Publicly heard agenda items only. Approval of the minutes, October 18th, 2022, regular meeting. Anybody want a motion?
Motion. Second.
Motioned by Mr. Totaro, seconded by Mr. Clavijo. Any discussion?
Sorry, I zoomed out.
It's okay.
Sorry.
No discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Ehrentraut?
Yes.
Dr. Morell?
Yes.
Mr. Palouse?
I'll abstain.
Mr. Rasher?
Yes.
Mr. Shortway?
Yes.
Mr. Tutaro?
Yes.
Mrs. Cobb?
Yes. Just a reminder for those who were not present for the ethics training, Ms. Helloa did say that you do not have to abstain from minutes if you reviewed them prior to coming to the meeting, just for future
No, I
reference.
know, I know.
Unless there-
I chose to, but I was kind of laughing because I couldn't actually motion because I wasn't here to motion that, so I just chose.
Just to remind
I know, I
everyone
just chose
that
to
there are
abstain, but
various
thank you.
reasons to abstain, but if it's because you weren't here, you certainly don't have to. If you review the minutes, you can feel free to have fun. Correspondence, there is none. Reports, Mr. Dewar.
Hello, everyone. It is great to be back again for another episode of the hit sitcom Hawthorne Board of Education meetings. Seeing as how it is November, I think it appropriate to once again thank everyone for the opportunity to present this report on behalf of the students and staff of Hawthorne High School. And I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to this nation's servicemen and women, as Veterans Day was just last week. So, without further delay, here is your 3rd edition of Hawthorne Board of Education. Clubs and extracurricular. The juniors are holding a cozy holiday apparel sale. We are selling some awesome stuff. The students helped create designs and worked hard to get the sale ready. They are selling Naughty Nice t-shirts, sweatshirts, and a Hawthorne blue Santa hat that says Merry Christmas. Support the juniors. Team Lakota is starting off the holiday season with their first fundraiser of the year, gift wrapping services. The organization will be offering gift wrapping services to help families wrap any presents for the upcoming holiday season. All of the funds will go towards the project the students have been planning, building a community garden for the Lakota Nation to aid their impoverished, food-scarce society. The funds go to an amazing cause to help out this amazing organization today. And there's one thing I want to add, because today, and I didn't have time to publish before, today we're announcing our senior fundraiser vendor sale, $50 a table. You can come if you have something you want to sell at the Hawthorne High School main cafeteria, December 10th from noon to 3 p.m. Sports. The fall sports season has officially concluded. We'd like to thank all of our senior athletes and marchers for their years of dedication and wish them the best of luck in their future endeavors. I look forward to beginning the winter sports season in the coming weeks. Library. This month, the Library Media Center displays books and activities highlight 2 national events, National American Heritage Month and Military Families Appreciation Month and Veterans Day. Library Media Specialist Mrs. DiGeronimo has provided our social studies teachers with lesson plans focusing on these events. In addition to book displays and informational handouts, the morning announcements include interesting fun facts about the impact of Native Americans on Hawthorne. Also, in addition to the book display highlighting military life, the library has put out a call to all Hawthorne High School families and staff who have family members who are or were in the military. The library now proudly displays a military salute wall posting photos of our Hawthorne military. This has brought many students to the library, open discussions about their families, and introduced students to a large selection of information and books on the subject. The Student Library Advisory Board has decided to acknowledge November as a month to give thanks by having a food drive for local pantries. For each food item donated, students receive a raffle ticket for a Dunkin' Donuts gift card. With the World Cup beginning on November 20th, the library is using the World Cup player sticker book donated back to the library by Mr. Clavijo to launch our own World Cup sticker team challenge. To increase library foot traffic awareness of our books on soccer, we are asking students to donate their duplicate stickers to fill our book and race to complete their favorite team page. This concludes this month's Board of Education report. I would like to reiterate my thanks on behalf of the Hawthorne High School students and staff and myself. This month's historical quote to sign off the report is, "An investment in knowledge pays the best interest." Benjamin Franklin. Thank you all and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Mr. Dewar. If one wanted to purchase any of that festive swag, where would that be?
I have no idea.
Okay. I
Great
tried to
question.
track it down on the Instagram page, but I didn't seem to find. Okay, we will find it and let. I saw Miss Erin Trout's eyes light up when she heard about the Santa hat. Mine as well. So we'll find them. We will find them.
I'll make sure you're aware.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Sprito, Superintendent's report.
It's a junior fundraiser, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
You don't have to go out of your way to find them. Do the secret.
Okay, so a number of things to share tonight. I do want to mention, Paul mentioned Veterans Day. I had the privilege of attending the Veterans Day ceremony, myself, Paul, Emily Backer, Emily Barberi, and Leah Alpes. We attended the ceremony together, and Emily Barbieri also led the Pledge of Allegiance at the ceremony, so it was nice to be there and to have a few of our students attend as well. In terms of the school district, just some things that are happening throughout the school district. Number one, the Governor Educator of the Year for this school year. I want to thank everyone who nominated either a teacher or educational services professional. We've received 22 nominations this year, either teachers or ed service professionals, so we're happy about that. I always look forward to reading all the wonderful nominations and all the great things that are written about our wonderful staff here in Hawthorne. And as always, we look forward to recognizing them publicly at a board meeting in the spring. We typically recognize them at our May meeting, so look forward to that process once we get there. But again, I want to just congratulate everyone who was nominated and look forward to naming our winners for this year. Another item that has come up a couple times over the past month or so, we've had a few people email me about the new comprehensive health and PE standards. And just with questions, so I just want to reference this and bring it up and mention that currently on our website, if you go to our district website, on the bottom of the district homepage, there is a tab that says Important District Information. On that tab is a presentation that we held publicly at the board meeting, and we shared at the board meeting. We've also added some information on that page. There's a document that compares the standards from 2014 to the new standards currently in 2020 that were revised, and it shows you the exact changes that were made within that curriculum. I will also share that our curricular document will be posted in the coming weeks. I would say over the next 2 weeks, it will be on that page as well. We're going to post some additional resources as well as the full document outlining the comprehensive health and PE standard and the changes and how they're being implemented here in Hawthorne. So I encourage you to take a look at that site. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We've had a few people reach out. I've responded to all of them. Like I said, if there's anything else that comes up, don't hesitate to contact myself or Dr. Trebona. We'll be happy to speak to you about that. I also want to, as Paul mentioned, I want to congratulate all of our fall sports teams on a wonderful fall season, very successful season. As always, there's always a lot of success, but then there's some challenging defeats as well. I know that those are difficult, especially at the end of the year when you get into the playoffs and the tournaments. Those losses are tough, but you inspired me, Paul. I'm going to add a quote here from Teddy Roosevelt. It's hard to fail, but it's worse never to have tried to succeed. So just remember that. I say that to our student athletes and our coaches. Just remember that as you move forward. I mean, I know how hard those losses are, but just hopefully when the dust settles and you look back on your this fall season, you'll just be happy with all the success that you had and all the friendships that you developed during that time. We look forward to hosting our Fall Sports Awards next Monday night at Hawthorne High School in the auditorium, and of course the start of our winter season, which is coming quickly, will be here before you know it. So I just want to congratulate all of our fall athletes. Something else we're really excited about is our new Heroes and Cool Kids program. This is a new initiative that we're running at Hawthorne High School. I'm happy to share that we have 40 students who are participating, who signed up to be part of the Heroes and Cool Kids program. Basically, if you go to the Heroes and Cool Kids website, kind of their mission statement, or what it says, is that Heroes and Cool Kids assists in building courage, character, and perseverance in teens and preteens. We ignite strength and wisdom in them so they become better leaders and teachers, or whatever they dream to be. And basically what happens with this program is our students at the high school attend training, and they actually went today for the first time. We had about 36, I believe, of the 40 students who attended. They go to Burton Community College. They are provided some training. They then come back to the district, and on December 9th, they'll go down to Lincoln Middle School, and they'll meet with our 6th graders to talk to them about things like character and leadership and making good decisions. And like I said, whatever they learn at the workshop they attended today, they then turnkey that to our current 6th graders. So we're excited about the program. Looking forward to having them meet with our 6th graders for the first time on December 9th. They'll go to another training in January, and then same kind of thing. They'll learn there'll be a different topic they'll discuss, and they'll then turnkey that to our 6th graders. So we're excited about it. Looking forward to that meeting on December 9th. I look forward to attending it myself. I want to thank Mrs. Golden Cooper, our new Director of Guidance, for coordinating the program with Sergeant Tom Rich. It's called Always Connected, Practicing Cyber Safety. I had a chance to attend his program that he presented to the middle school students. So he did 2 programs at the middle school, 1 program at the high school, and then he did a parent program last night. I had a chance to attend the Lincoln Middle School presentation and last night's presentation. So it wasn't just about cyber safety. I will tell you, he does a really nice job of just going through all of these apps that the kids are using, whether it's Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok. He jokes about kids don't use Facebook. That's for, as the kids say, that's for the old people. But he talked about all those different apps and how they function, right? And how you have to be careful about things that you post. He did a really nice job of presenting that information to our students and to our parents last night. Interestingly enough, the newest version of School Administrator Magazine, the cover says social media friend or foe, intensifying questions over the mental health toll on the ever-present use of cell phones. So interesting, a timely topic, right? Something that's coming up more and more. So appreciate Mrs. Golden Cooper for coordinating that. The kids, again, I sat through the middle school program. The kids were attentive and really seemed to enjoy it. My son, who's a senior, I don't know, Paul, you want to comment on it too, but my son, who's a senior, also said he thought it was really good. It was engaging and very interesting to hear about the inner workings of some of those apps that they talk about. Again, I thought it was well received, so thank you to Mrs. Golden Cooper for putting that together. Just an update on a referendum. Hopefully you've had a chance to see some of the pictures that I've been posting on the our social media sites, and I've also posted them on our website. Our science classrooms are finally to a point where our students can get into those rooms. I did post some pictures on social media end of last week. Our students started using the rooms today. There are some punch list items that have to be addressed, little things that need to be addressed, but the kids were able to get into those rooms today for the first time. I happened to be over at the high school for a short time, and there were students in those rooms. So it's great to see that. We're excited about the kids being able to use those new spaces. They are amazing. They really are. They look great, and they're very functional. I'm looking forward to many years of the students using those rooms. The other things that are still happening throughout the district, our interior door installation is moving along very well. Our fire alarm upgrade is moving along very well, and all that will be completed by the end of the school year. The generators, there's not much going on with that work right now. They're doing some of the, not as it gets colder, they won't be able to do some of that work, but they poured some of the concrete pads to place the generators on outside the schools and doing some other work, some exterior work, while they wait for the equipment to arrive. And the other thing that I'm excited about is the work. We have one more summer, it looks like, of renovations. So this coming summer, we will be renovating our last 3 science labs at the high school, as well as our media center at the high school. So really exciting. We'll also be doing an elevator upgrade at the high school, but some really exciting things to come. Thank goodness, we're getting near the end of these projects. But a lot of exciting things to come, and the students benefit from them. Just mention about strategic planning. I want to thank everybody who attended those strategic planning sessions in October and early November. I was able to, or received a rough draft of our strategic plan from Kathy Hellowa. I did go through this document. There were a couple mistakes, corrections, things that had to be adjusted. They also did not include the names of all the participants, so I'm waiting for that. That will be included as well. And one thing that we'll have to talk about as a group is Kathy would like to come to a future board meeting to provide copies to the board members and just formally present the final document to the board so that we can formally accept it. All right, so we can talk about a date that would be will work, whether it's December, January, whatever. I mean, I don't have the final one yet, so I'll check with her in terms of how soon she'll be done. I believe it would be done if we wanted to do it as early as December, so we can talk about that date for that. The other thing I wanted to mention, a lot of activities or events coming up in terms of winter concerts. We have winter concerts at all of our schools starting on December 1st at Washington, December 6th at Lincoln, Roosevelt December 8th, Jefferson December 14th, and the high school December 21st. Those are our winter concerts. And of course the high school fall production, which runs from December 1st through December 4th. That's coming up as well. So a lot to come. I encourage everybody to come out and enjoy these events. I always enjoy going to the concerts as well as the fall production. Look forward to attending. And finally, as Paul said, I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I can't believe it's the middle of November. The year is really going quickly. But it's I personally love Thanksgiving. I think it's a great time of year. It's a great time to kind of think about all the things that we are thankful for, whether it be as parents, as educators, people, members of this community. So I wish everyone a wonderful and relaxing Thanksgiving recess.
Thank you, Mr. Sparito. Mr. Reicher, curriculum and instruction.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pursuant to the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Committee on Curriculum and Instruction recommends the following resolutions: CI1 through CI3 on page 3, CI4 through CI9 on page 4, and CI10 through CI11 on page 5. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Reicher, seconded by Dr. Morrell. Any discussion? I have a question. For CI6, for the FBAs, is that 2,100 per FBA?
Sandra, do you know if that's per? I'm not sure if that's the
CI6,
CI6. I don't think it's per because it's not to exceed,
yeah,
so
that's an exorbitant amount of
I don't
money
think
for
it's
one
per, but I
FBA.
can check it.
You think it's per? I do.
I'm
And this, I mean, I know that we have, because I recently asked you the number of total BCBAs that we have, and I know that we have 3.6 in-house BCBAs. So just wondering why we're needing to outsource FBAs if we have so many BCBAs internally.
I can get you an answer on that.
Okay, that's just a lot. I mean, I know they're very involved. It's numerous observations and like 60 pages of write-ups and a behavior plan sometimes, but that just seems like a lot. Okay, that was my only question. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Erentraut?
Yes.
Dr. Morel?
Yes.
Mr. Kalous?
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Mr. Shortway?
Yes.
Mr. Totaro?
Yes.
Mrs. Conlon?
Yes. Ms. Erin Trout, Personnel.
Thank you, President. The following resolutions are pursuant to the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools. P1 through P7 on page 5, P8 through P21 on page 6, P22 through P27 on page 7. And that's it. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Erin Trout, seconded by Mr. Totaro. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam President. Mrs. Carito, can you tell me what the subject area is for P25, Lauren Modeling?
Holy, he's a science teacher at the high school.
Is that a particular content area?
He teaches, I think, physics and chem, physics and chem, I believe.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? Go ahead.
Just one comment. Welcome to, I do see a few new hires on here. I know they're most extra duty, but there are a few new hires, so welcome to the new members of our community.
I have a question.
Sure.
For P1, for the guidance counselor, Mrs. Brito, can you
Yes.
help me remember how many guidance counselors we have at this point at the high school and at the middle school?
Yeah, so we have, obviously the director, we have 3 guidance counselors, and Simone Edwards was also a guidance counselor with a SAC certification. She's the one who's being replaced by this new counselor. And then at the middle school, there's 2 counselors, and then we have 2 counselors at the elementary, one that goes between Jefferson and Washington, and one that's housed at Roosevelt.
So then 2 floaters, 1 permanent at the grammar schools.
I'll go back. So there's elementary school, 1 floater, it goes back and forth between Washington and Jefferson, and there's a permanent guidance counselor at Roosevelt School.
Okay.
Lincoln has 2 full-time counselors now, not including the West Bergen counselor. We have a West Bergen counselor at the middle school as well. At the high school, we have 3 counselors, plus this counselor with the SAC cert, who is Simone Edwards. She actually goes back and forth between the middle school and the high school. And then we have a West Bergen counselor at the high school as well. So if you want to, per school numbers, right? So it's really 4 plus the West Bergen at the high school, 2 plus the West Bergen at the middle school, and then 2 elementary counselors. That answers your question.
And for the following year, it depends on the ESSER funding, right, to figure out how many of these are going to be repeated?
Yeah, we're hoping to keep, ideally we want to keep all.
Sure.
And yes, so that would, I mean, so the 4 at the high school are not ESSER funded. They're in our budget. There's 1 in our budget at the middle school and 1 is ESSER funded. And we had 1 elementary counselor who went to all 3 schools, and we added another one through ESSER funding. So we're hoping to keep, ideally we'd like to keep all of them, but we'll have to see what ESSER funding we have left and then what we can put into our regular budget.
And the ones that we have, do they meet the need, or could we benefit from an additional counselor?
I think, I mean, listen, I think you can always supplement what you're doing, but right now, we're in a much better spot. If you remember, a few years ago, we didn't have anything at the elementary level at all. We didn't have any elementary counselors. counselors. And we've always had, since I first arrived here 8 years ago, there was only one at the middle school. So having that second counselor is great. And then on top of that, having the West Bergen counselor, it's definitely going to benefit to have those additional people for sure.
Thank you. And also, too bad to see Mr. Lauren leaving, huh?
Mr. Hardling, yes. Unfortunate, yes, for sure.
And then I do have another one. On the Paris, how are we doing with that? You know, because we do have an adjustment there.
So, this was actually a question that
I was gonna bring it up later.
So I'll just address it now.
All right, there you go.
So, so as you know, we had a shortage of paraprofessionals. We put out a request for proposals to have outside vendors to help us supplement, not replace the people we have, but to supplement or add to, fill some of these open spots. Currently, right now, ProCare has provided 13 paraprofessionals for us for the district. Horizon, we had 3, and one already was here yesterday for her first day and decided that it wasn't the position she thought it was, so she's not coming back. So we have 2 from Horizon, and Stepping Stone, which was the other company, has not provided any. Although we've asked them to, they just haven't been able to provide any powers for us. I can tell you that, according to Mrs. Pignatello, we are about 9 powers short still at this current moment. So we're looking to try to fill those spots however we can. Obviously, this goes back to, you mentioned ESSER funding. A lot of this funding for these outside companies is coming through ESSER funding. We're actively searching for people, whether it be through these companies or to hire ourselves. One, as you noticed, was on the agenda tonight. Yeah. We went from a part-timer to a full-time because she's in our HOPE program, our alternative program, and she's been such an asset to us. We didn't want to lose her, so that's why we increased her to a full-time para. So we're actively searching, but they have provided some relief to these companies, but there definitely is some more that we need.
I wasn't clear about we had spoken about when we went back in that email, as far as the requirements to be a para. We haven't lowered the requirements to be a para. And we had talked about reaching out to the community, letting them know what it is that, that we need paras and, the requirements for that. Have we done that?
Mrs. Pignatello did share something, I don't remember exactly when she shared it, but she did put something out. It was a while ago. I mean, we could try it again. We have an opening posting on our website through AppleTrack, which is how we, where our staff applies. That's an open posting for substitutes and for paras. So, we can put something out, but I know she did put something out a while back.
So the need may be met by our community members.
Sure. Yeah, we'd be happy to hire people in turn, for our, as our staff members, absolutely.
What are the requirements at that point? What's the minimum threshold as far as
You could take you either have to have 60 credits to get a substance, or for us, you could take the Para Pro, which is another option, to become a paraprofessional in our district.
So then 60 credits or not?
No, not for a para, no.
And then can they be hired and then they take the test? Or, I'm asking her it's not my fault. This is something that's come up during the campaigns. It's something that's very here. It says it within certain segments of the communities.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what school you're into, it limits. We talked about this, that if you're a Title I school, there's certain requirements versus if you're not in a Title I school. So there is some flexibility there. I mean, I would say if there's anybody who has any interest at all, contact us and we'll be happy to, walk them through the process. I mean, anybody who's interested, it can't hurt to reach out and ask. And we'll be happy to, Mrs. Pignatello or one of us will be happy to reach out and speak to whoever's interested.
May not be a bad idea to repost it then, right?
Sure.
Could we put something on social media?
Yeah.
I mean, I know people all the time are saying, oh, my wife or my husband or my sister-in-law, or, they just don't know if they're not involved in the school. They don't know.
We could put something on there for sure.
And last thing on that item, did we speak about maybe giving the class for the paras? Is that something that we had considered, giving that class for non-certificate paras?
Like a Para Pro training?
Para Pro training, that's not something that we've talked about.
No. does it take a lot to?
I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, because if we have the need, if we're 9 short, and if we can supplement the need in our community,
I don't know the answer. I can look into that. I don't know how that works.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Bob, I just have a few things, like as far as the paras, and we've seen what the governor is gonna do now. I mean, in every school, including my own school, 0 applications for the paras. I mean, there's nobody, forget about finding a good candidate, there's just nobody applying, like, for a lot of these jobs. So it's good to come up with as many ideas as we can, but it's the same every place, as my point. It's not necessarily like a Hawthorne thing. And I just wanted to point out on P5, P6, P7, it's awesome to see these clubs and as many clubs as we can add. I know at one point we were limited by the contract of how many clubs we could add, and it's out of the LMS escape room club. It's definitely out of the box. No, but that's what the kids enjoy. Doing that, chess, game club is are great. Anything that we could do to have clubs to provide things for them.
We had 5, as you know, in the original contract. It said we limited to 5. Right now we're up to 12, and there is another spot that we haven't filled yet.
At Lincoln.
At Lincoln.
Yep.
That's great.
So there is one other spot that we're hoping to fill. But yeah, I mean, listen, we're trying to create things that engage our students after school as well. Keep them in the school to do different things, different clubs. And the teachers, I have to give the teachers the credit, and Mrs. Dever for coming up with some of these ideas, like you said, escape room. It's really been teacher driven. They've come to her with some different ideas, and we talk through them and then decide which ones they want to put forth. But yeah, I agree. I think it's great that we're up to 12. And
It's especially great contract or no contract. For a while we had 0. There were 0 clubs in the middle school. So 0 to 12, that's excellent.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Arentraut?
Yes.
Dr. Morrell?
Yes.
Mr. Palouse?
Yes.
Mr. Raisher?
Yes.
Mr. Shortway?
Yes.
Mr. Totaro?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Mrs.
Yes. Mr. Clavijo, Finance and Administration.
Thank you, Madam President. Action items, page 8, pursuant to the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Committee on Finance and Administration recommends the following resolutions, F1 through A1. On page 9, A2 through A8. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Clavijo, seconded by Mr. Palouse. Any discussion?
Sure, I do have a question. The F5, the acceptance of the grant, we're hypothetically approving that, right? Is that what's happening there?
We actually already had gotten grant. So they've approved it,
Okay.
so we're approving it.
This is the one that we spoke about at the last.
Correct. So it moved very quickly.
Let's hope the other end moves just as quickly.
So,
That's fantastic.
yeah, happy that we were in a position to take advantage of it.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Dr. Morrell?
Yes.
Mr. Palouse?
Yes.
Mr. Raisher?
Yes.
Mr. Shortway?
Yes.
Mr. Totaro?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Arentraut?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes. Mr. Shortway, claims.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Claims in accordance with NJAC 6A:23-2:11B, C3, and C4 on page 9, CL1. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second. Moved by Mr. Shortway, seconded by Mr. Clavijo. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Palouse?
Yes.
Mr. Raisher?
Yes.
Mr. Shortway?
Yes.
Mr. Totaro?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Arentraut?
Yes.
Dr. Morrell?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes. In light of Mr. Carr's absence, Mr. Totaro, would you move the buildings and grounds items?
Absolutely, Madam President. Action items for buildings and grounds pursuant to the recommendation of Superintendent of Schools. The Committee On Buildings and Grounds, recommends the following resolutions on page 10, BG1 and BG2, going on to page 11. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second?
Moved by Mr. Totaro, seconded by Ms. Ehrentraut. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Reisner?
Yes.
Mr. Shortway?
Yes.
Mr. Totaro?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Ehrentraut?
Yes.
Dr. Morel?
Yes.
Mr. Kalous?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes. Mr. Totaro, do you happen to have the Buildings and Grounds notes?
I actually do.
Oh, wow.
I don't have legislative though.
That's okay.
I don't know if you mind if I go right into council
Go
liaison
ahead.
as
No,
well?
go ahead.
All right, so, Buildings and Grounds Committee met on November 8th, and the following are the items that were discussed in the meeting. The referendum updates were scheduled to be completed for November 14th. That included the science rooms, which encompassed the clouds in the ceiling, as well as the Nickerson finished casework, the 2 vent covers behind the casework, as well as the fume hood connections. In the chem offices, the drop ceiling was installed, as well as the Nickerson furniture, and the low voltage contractor was to finish up the data drops in the rooms as well. As a result of all that work, as Mr. Sprito mentioned, there was a punch list to be created by both Solutions and Legacy, which was scheduled to be walked on November 10th. In addition, outside of the referendum work throughout the district, various work that's scheduled to be completed by spring break, or during spring break rather, includes masonry repairs at the Lincoln Middle School, including the steps and the retaining wall, repointing at Washington, the fence repairs at Lincoln, the roof repairs at Roosevelt, as well as the roof repairs at Washington. That concludes Building and Grounds, and then on to Council Liaison. As per my review of the council meeting last evening, the following was shared by Mayor Lane in the administrative report relative to the Hawthorne School District. The mayor reminded everyone about the Hawthorne Chamber of Commerce 37th Santa Parade, which will be held on December 2nd, starting at 6 p.m., along with the annual tree lighting, which will take place immediately after Santa arrives at Borough Hall at approximately 7 p.m. We are also collecting unwrapped toys that are being placed in the lobby of Borough Hall through December 9th. On Saturday, December 10th, the Marine Corps Toys for Tots program, in conjunction with the Susquehanna Railroad, will roll in to pick up the toys from 10 to 10:30 a.m. And other than that, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Totaro. Mr. Clavijo, Finance and Administration.
Yes, thank you. Finance Committee did not meet. We did receive notes from Ms. Ambrose in regards to it. The FEMA funds were received, yay, from 2 years together, right? Also, I did note that you had shared on the grant, but I didn't put one and one together. It was shared at that point that the grant was approved. So like Ms. Ambrose mentioned, at this point, we need to expedite the plans for the bidding. As approved in the agenda, additional funds were allotted from extraordinary aid to fund some of our shortfalls in paraprofessionals and other budget expenses. Right, is that the 300,000 that we approved? PCTI, we have a reduction of students, of 2 students, 1 returned to the high school and another student moved. Otherwise, the preliminary budget is on its way for this following year. First step, which is the one that already took place, is the distributing of the copies of the current budget to the administrators. Next, it'll come to the Finance Committee and it'll continue from there. That's it, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Clavijo. Ms. Ehrentraut, PCSBA.
Thank you, President. I attended the meeting virtually this week along with Mr. Totaro, Mr. Clavijo, and Mr. Sprito. Dr. Morel was a featured speaker of the meeting. Kathy Hellewa congratulated Hawthorne for completing this successful strategic planning process. She was very excited about it. Also, the New Jersey School Board Association is expanding services and looking to hire another director in northern New Jersey. If anyone is interested or knows someone that might be interested, we can encourage them to apply. So Dr. Morell, who also serves as superintendent in Lyndhurst.
Oh, don't give me an upgrade. Assistant.
Assistant. Did I say superintendent?
You
Assistant.
did.
Thank you for correcting me.
All right,
I
just wanna
even
be
have it
sure.
written here. I guess I just got ahead of myself in reading. Thank you. Dr. Morell, who we're also lucky to have here on our board in Hawthorne, presented with Donna Reichman, who's also assistant superintendent in Wayne, on the perspectives on implementing comprehensive health and physical education standards. If anyone here on the board did not receive the presentation or a copy of it, I can forward it to you, and I'm sure Dr. Morell could as well. The last thing for Passaic County, the next meeting is not until January 24th, and it'll be a virtual how to be an effective school board member, and all of us are welcome to attend. That concludes my Passaic County report.
Thank you, Ms. Erin Child. As far as NJSBA, New Jersey School Boards Association goes, I again want to reiterate Mr. Sprito's sentiments. Thank you to the community who came out to our 3 planning meetings for the strategic plan. We had 60 participants the first meeting, in the 30s the second, and I think in the back up to the 40s.
Yeah, it was
40s, 50s in the last one. So it was a really, really well attended event. Kathy Helloa and Patricia Rees were so pleasantly surprised at the continued participation. Sometimes it fizzles, some of the days were rainy, but they were very pleased with the continued participation. We're very, very grateful to have had the people come out. And we will be putting something on, like once it gets going, we post that on the website. Additionally, I did not make it to the convention, but I would love for anyone who did make it to the convention to share out. But before that, I would like to reiterate, and I can say that I did it this time, that we are mandated to be trained annually as board members, years 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 10. And every year thereafter in your next re-election. I registered since our last meeting. I took the class. It was a self-paced class. I got it done in just over an hour. So please remind yourself, because it needs to be done by the end of the calendar year. If you're not sure what you need, is Karen Skay still in charge of that, Mr. Sprito?
Benefits, yes.
Okay, Ms. Skay at the board office can help you to identify what you need. If you log into your account, it also tells you NJSBA.org. Okay, that's my spiel. But anyone who went to the convention would love to hear from you about what we all missed. It was very sad that I did not get to go.
Sure. So I attended on Monday and Tuesday. It was my first in-person workshop conference. I attended last year, but it was virtual. So I think for me it was a bit of a rookie mistake to go the first day because it wasn't like a full launching of it, but I did attend some of the sessions. In fact, Irene Lefebvre, who's the president, attended the Passaic County School Board Association meeting, and they said that they were overwhelmed by the number of participants who came out on the first day because we were shut out of a lot of the workshops. But I think some of the highlights for me for the workshops I did attend on Monday and Tuesday, there was one that was around the use of social media, but also communicating in terms of crisis. There was a lot of great insight and things that it's weird because I attend this, so I'm looking at it from my current work position, and then I'm also thinking at it as a board member. So that was something I was going to share with Mrs. Garrido. We kind of crossed paths in the hallway of the Atlantic City Convention Center. Another standout workshop that I attended was, I guess, the recruitment of staff, how to increase recruitment and retention. It was presented by the North Public Schools, and they shared a variety of different strategies that they have implemented to increase, to both retain and recruit individuals. What I found interesting is obviously Newark, the largest school district in New Jersey, also has a lot of funds to do a variety of different things that they did, but I think you can still take some of those strategies and perhaps downscale it to what you can do. So in addition to, there was a lot of effort in publicity, not your traditional Star Ledger, appointments. They had full-on billboards. So if you drive along Mercader Highway going to the Newark Airport, you're gonna see a big billboard that says "Come work for Newark." They did commercials on the radio, on TV, on Univision. So they had literally a publicity budget to get the word out that they were hiring. They even had, if you see along New Jersey Transit, there was also signs on "Come work for Newark." They had signing bonuses, again, money that they utilized ESSER funds for. But something that they used that I just thought of that Mr. Clavijo was asking for about the paraprofessionals, they also look from within. For example, whether it's a paraprofessional who we knew that the district, that the teacher was working towards the teacher certification, and they met with the teacher to try to understand with the paraprofessional, like what's limiting you from being a teacher. And so whatever that was holding them up, they supported them and created their own school, for lack of a better word, to get them over the hump, to get their teacher certification and get them to work. They also worked really hard on making connections with universities for student teachers and basically giving them a contract before they graduate, a guaranteed contract, to say, you did your student teaching here, we want you to work here. And I think that was a huge hit to do that. So I just thought there was a really, I'm just giving a snippet of that particular one, but I was truly impressed by the variety of different strategies, from not only from looking from within, but also reaching out and their connections with the community. And one of the things I really appreciated was there was a joke, you know how like Oprah, you get a car, you get a car. So they have this $1,000 bonus, a payment. So if I were to refer someone, so if I work in the Newark Public Schools and I refer Mr. Shortway for a job and Mr. Shortway is hired, I get $1,000 for referring Mr. Shortway and getting a job. And the message was that the shortage is an issue for our entire school community, and we all have an investment to get towards that, to get teachers in the classroom. And when you're a teacher, that might mean I have to pick up an extra class because we're short a teacher. So it was a community effort to do that. So, and of course that's a nice little incentive, to refer someone. So other than that, I think some of the other workshops were really more informational. Like there was a special education primer one that I went to. There was one on Robert's Rules of Order. So stuff that might be boring for other people, but I don't know, I thought it was interesting. And so that, for my first conference, I did enjoy, and I found it very informational.
Thank you for sharing. Mr. Reicher,
Sure.
the other end of the rainbow, your last conference.
Yeah, it wasn't a rookie mistake. I was there Monday and Tuesday also. I did see, and this is a really cool thing to look up, signatureproject.com was the keynote speaker the first day. Patrick Dunning was the person's name who, he's been doing this project for 25 years, making a huge mural of people's signatures, but when he's presenting it, there's like 3 or 4 boards that are up by him, and he starts telling the story of all these family members in his life by these boards, and all the boards are made up of people's signature in all different colors. So like he had some that were like, you see the board and it just looks like a regular board in a picture. He puts a blue light underneath it, and now all of a sudden there's music that his brother wrote to his dad, and then that shows. Then he showed another board and another type of light, different things showed on that. So really interesting project. He does come to schools. He was also off Broadway for I think a couple of months, like, you know, showing this project. And one of the better presenters that I've seen with multimedia of, he was pulling like lights out of himself, and there was smoke and colors and, you know, all these things. He was a very dynamic, you know, speaker. And basically he showed you this whole huge mural, and then all of a sudden he's like, look in the upper left-hand corner of the sun, and it would like come towards you. And then there's basically all different stories of the people who signed this board. And then at the end of his presentation, he's like, you want to sign the board on that ray of the sun? You can line up, and I did. Everybody lined up and like signed the board in a certain place, so you knew where your place was, you know, on the board. So really excellent. I had no idea what it was, like walking into it. I'm like, signature project, they collected signatures for something. But 25 years of doing this and creating artwork with it. Another thing he had done, which I would never think of, is he's like, I've presented 30,000 times and I've taken all the tape up from the floor that's pulled all the wires and all the things that were left in my hotel room, the little soaps and the little shampoos, and here's all the animated movies that I've made with it. And then he showed like all these animated movies that he made. Not only myself, but everyone's just sitting there like, oh, like, I don't think anyone else expected it too. It was, you know, packed to see him. He was a really good, excellent speaker. I did go to the same social media one that everybody went to. I left early actually to go to Google Tools to pick up a couple tips on Google Tools, and I know in the district we have more and more people here that are Google certified and using Google Tools, you know, which is excellent. And they mentioned also in it, which we had shown, I think last month, how a program called Canva, not Canvas. The district is using more and more to do all their desktop publishing things. They look very easy to do, and they come out looking excellent. And then just one footnote on the Nork story. This was actually in the newspaper, and a trend that's happening because of the teacher shortage. I think there's right now 72 retired full-time teachers that Nork hired back. So they retired, they have their pension, they have their benefits, and they're rehired back for $92,000 a year.
And a $4,000 signing bonus.
For $96,000 a year. But, you know, everyone's looking outside of the proverbial box of doing some of these different things, I think in every workplace, but now it's just for a variety of reasons also, you know, caught up in education too. And that's it for it. It was really great. I just like walking the floor and seeing like the thousands of the, you know, vendors and all the interesting things that they have to show at, and it was excellent.
Yeah, I want to mention to everyone, if you just go to, if you Google NJSBA Conference 2022, you'll see and go to the schedule where the agenda is. For many of the workshops, they'll actually still have the presentation there and the handouts. So even if you were not able to attend, just visit the website and you'll still have access to at least the slides or some of the handouts. The communicating in crisis, I was meaning to speak to you about that, Ms. Brewer. I found that very informational because I generally don't know what our crisis plan when something happens and how to report that out. So that was something I thought was, I never thought to ask. You know, God forbid something happened, what is the protocol for us to be informed or anything like that?
Anybody on this side vote? Or don't you vote? I'm having a moment. I'm feeling very old right now. Mr. Streeter, you went.
I did.
Did you find anything?
So I did, I was only there for one day. So Monday, I attended a workshop at Eastbrook Middle School with Captain Carr, Captain King, Chief Nipper, and Mayor Lane on, it was called Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Middle School Lessons Learned. So it was the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas School shooting. There was 2 officers from the Coral Springs Police Department who were at the scene and in the building that day who spoke. So I spent Monday at that event, and they, you know, talked about the entire incident, you know, kind of the things they did well, the things they didn't do well, you know, some of the things they've learned from that experience and going forward, how they felt that, God forbid, something like that happened again, that they would do differently. But it's just nice, you know, as difficult as it is to see some of the video and hear from those officers who were on the scene. It's important to see what things that they did not do well, you know, because it helps us when we begin to plan for tragedies like this. God forbid something like this ever happened, what we can do and how we can try to shore up our procedures here in Hawthorne. So I spent Monday at that session. I left from there and went down to Atlantic City I was at Atlantic City on Tuesday. I attended, Tuesday morning I attended something called the Promises and Perils of Social Media. It was kind of like a do's and don'ts. It was more geared toward board members per se than it was to administrators or teachers, but it just talks about do's and don'ts, practical guidelines, ethical responsibilities, those kinds of things. I also attended a panel discussion about the legislation for later high school start times. So they had a panel discussion of superintendents from different districts, some who had changed their start time. So there is legislation right now that would require all high schools to not begin prior to 8:30. And on the panel, it was interesting because they said 2 of the districts had changed their start time, but neither of the 2 were there had changed to 8:30. One had changed to 8:15 and one to 8:20. Not sure why they didn't go to 8:30, but regardless. And then 2 that didn't, and the reasons that they didn't. They talked about all the logistical issues, the busing issues, how it impacts districts that have elementary schools versus don't have elementary schools. So it was a really good discussion. They also allowed for, obviously people in the audience to kind of comment and ask questions for those districts that had made those changes. So I thought that was really, really good. And I also attended an award ceremony to support some of my colleagues. And I agree with Bruce. One of the other things I always enjoy about those events is that the exhibit floor, there are, I don't know if there's thousands, but there's hundreds, at least, if not thousands, of vendors that have camera options, security options, field turf options. There's a million different people that you can talk to, just get some ideas, see what products are out there and things that we can implement here in Hawthorne. So
They have a school bus. In the convention hall, they have two school buses.
So bus cameras, all those kinds of different things. So it's always nice to kind of see what other products are out there and things that we can implement here in Hawthorne.
Great, I'm glad you guys got to go. Dr. Morrell, I know we didn't have a policy meeting, but not sure, okay. Mr. Palouse, have CPAC and PTOs.
Sure, I have a few things. Quickly on CPAC, just on their Facebook page, Hawthorne NJ CPAC, there is a flyer for a workshop. It's a virtual workshop, 2 virtual workshops on November 28th, 6:30 to 7:30. There's there's links, so you can copy the link and register. One is after school, then what? After high school, and then what? If you have a student that is 14 years or older, you may want to attend this virtual workshop. It's a free workshop, so parents can start preparing for what comes after high school. The other event is Understanding Prize, which is Parents' Rights in Special Education. Again, that's a virtual link on there. If you want to sign up, you can go there. And then there's also a scavenger hunt. I don't know much about this. It just says there's 2 sessions on Wednesday, November 30th. I don't know if that's in person or if it's some type of virtual scavenger hunt, but there's 2 sessions, 12:30 to 1, and then 6:30 to 7:30. So again, links are on the Hawthorne NJ CPAC Facebook page. And then I just have a quick update on the Ed Foundation as well. Unfortunately, I didn't write things down. I'm reading them from my little phone, so just bear with me for a second. There's a few events coming up. So ongoing right now, there's a 50-50 for the Ed Foundation. You can reach out, if you don't know how to reach out to Jen Doyle, you can reach out to me, and then I can kind of put you in touch with how you can buy raffle tickets. The drawing is going to be on January 13th, and all the money raised, obviously, for the Ed Foundation goes back to our district in one way or another. Sometimes it's students will receive scholarships, teachers will receive mini grants so they can buy supplies for their classrooms. Again, it's a 50-50. There's 3 mozzarella nights coming up as well. where it's, I believe, $50 per person, and you can go, it's a great event, you can learn how to make your own mozzarella. January 12th, the 13th, and the 19th, all the events are going to be held at the high school. On the 13th is also going to be the drawing for the 50-50. And this is a little bit in advance, but there will be a food truck festival and street fair sponsored by both the Ed Foundation and the high school project graduation. That's not until May 21st, so I will repeat this several times before then. But I wanted to at least mention it tonight. And then I will start mentioning also, because there's another event coming up in May, I don't have the date in front of me, but we're going to do the color run again for CPAC. So again, I will reiterate several times in the next few months. So keep on listening.
We could turn that into a big calendar, Mr. Poulos, where
Right
you
here?
just keep putting, I need it for myself.
Actually, that'll be great. Good idea. That concludes my report for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Poulos. Mr. Reicher, curriculum and instruction.
Sure, we met last week. Mrs. Golden Cooper, who is the new director of guidance, went through a bunch of different things. I'm going old school, Anthony. I have it on a piece of paper, so no cell phone.
That's what you do.
It works, if I could read my writing. She went through a whole bunch of different things. I mean, goals, excellent, collaboration, communication, consistency. Here are some of the things that she highlighted in the meeting that we had with her. Collaboration, to start getting special programs, collaborate between special ed, do PLCs together, and counselors and CSD team are all together at IEPs. She talked about communication, highlight monthly newsletters, elementary, middle school, and high school. Also communication with real-time messenger. Consistency of the district using Hipster, which I had to ask what that was. A platform, an easy way to track HIVs now. Risk assessment protocols, and also home instruction. Have the home instruction match the policies that we have, so it's consistent. We heard tonight about student programs, Heroes, and Cool Kids she talked about. Also another program called No Place for Hate, that freshman tape, the middle school and high school. She talked about parent programs. I think these have happened already. Financial aid night through Montclair State, and then the cyber safety that was mentioned tonight. Assemblies, workshops, presentations. During the PSATs, there were 3 workshops that the students rotated through. Kid versus conflict for 9th grade, Naviance for 9th grade, and college applications for the seniors. She also talked about NCAA information during the senior meeting. Also in December, I don't have the date yet, there will be an NCAA night for high school students, and cyber safety already happened. She also mentioned the student services, which were touched on tonight, from West Bergen that were fully staffed in the schools. Through Steve Fidelity, the depression screener in the middle school and high school, with parents' permission. 51 7th and 8th graders took it, and 80 9th through 12th graders took that very important screening that actually we've had for 2 years now, just kind of giving you a red flag on students that did take it. It immediately goes into a Google Sheet, and then if it comes up red with some of the questions that they answered, it might be kids that are off the radar a little bit and being proactive, for that. Upcoming events, here are dates for some of these. The NCAA night is December 7th, a junior night, December 14th. She's gonna bring something, well, we know what March Madness is, but March Madness with College and Career Exploration Month. Everybody's gonna decorate their doors, and there'll be a bunch of other contests in the high school. Spring College Fair and Career Fair. Talk about the program, bring in After the Fire, which is from Seton Hall. Naviance for middle school students. So not only the high school students, but introduce the 8th graders, I think, right? She said just the 8th graders in the beginning to Naviance. Continued protocol revision, and finally meaningful professional development. A full page and a little bit of a lot of things going on in the guidance department. And was mentioned earlier in the meeting, 12 is excellent, that we have 12 people like helping our kids, and hopefully, after the ESSER money eventually goes away, that some of those jobs could be in the budget, or however creatively we're going to think to keep those people to help our kids and to help our staff too, on how you're going to deal with students in our school after they lived through a year of COVID and being a little box on Zoom. I don't have a quote, but that's the end of my report. So I'll have a quote next month. but,
Mr. Rice, should I add something to that?
Of course.
For the college and career fair, I think we had asked her to be sure that she includes trade schools in that fair, that is not just for college, but to also provide students with exposure to trade schools.
And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Reicher.
You're welcome.
Public be heard. At this time, members of the public may ask questions or make comments on educational issues or school matters. Please remember to state your name and address and limit your comments to 5 minutes in length.
Good evening, board members and members of the community. As an educator in the neighboring
Please state your name and address.
Forgive me. Sylvia Cruz Gallagher, 80 Lee Avenue. As an educator in a neighboring town, I have seen the needs of students change drastically in the 15 years that I've been teaching, and I'm sure the same can be said about the Hawthorne students. I believe education should change to reflect the needs of students and not just some students, but all students. With that said, I know that Hawthorne Public School District has worked to create and incorporate lessons and activities that meet the needs of the new health standards and the students you serve. I also know that the changes that we were to expect were discussed at previous board meetings and are posted on the school website, including the way we look in our classrooms, in the students' classrooms, and that more resources are forthcoming. I understand that there are some students that do not have a safe space in their homes to discuss these delicate issues. And fortunately, my children do. And my husband and I take that responsibility very seriously. As Mr. Spirito mentioned, the district will be presenting a lot of information on the website regarding the upcoming lessons for our review, for parent review. Two suggestions that I have for the board to consider are as follows. The first is that please remember the student population that has parents that do not speak English. The website does have a device that you can change the language to Spanish. However, the presentations themselves are not in Spanish. And also, I understand that the Hawthorne Public Schools does have an opt-out policy for any parent that does not feel comfortable. However, I believe that it does not provide the parents the opportunity to work with the schools as a partnership. There are many topics that students can and should be exposed to in school, and there are other topics that parents wouldn't mind exposing their children to, assuming we have the information prior to, so that we can discuss it with them first. And that's just going off of a child's comfort. Some students are comfortable discussing that in a public setting, and some are not. I would like to conclude that change can be difficult to maneuver, especially when you have a diverse community of parents. However, meaningful, inclusive, and comprehensive change is a gradual process that should make all parents feel involved and valued. During the strategic planning meetings, one of the topics discussed was how to increase parental and community involvement. The answer is by providing parents with clear, transparent communication that will provide the opportunity to build a stronger partnership between the schools and the parents based on mutual respect.
Ms. Gallagher, would you just sign in?
Yeah.
Also? And I'd just like to thank you, as someone who sat up here for a long time and reads a lot of commentary on Facebook. Your comments were very thoughtful and proactive, and I can say that I really appreciate that you've come to share them with us in a respectful way. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Ditto? Just the ditto sign? We'll go for score. Thank you for your comments. General comments and questions from the board related to the school district. Mr. Palouse, we'll start on your end. Or it can be new business or old business, just tell me what you're about to say.
Okay.
Just business.
So something that I've been thinking about is a policy regarding endorsements of candidates. I'm a lifelong resident of Hawthorne. I believe that education should be separate from politics. I know in other communities, politics play a role. I'm sure there's always going to be politics played anyway, but I think the people on this board are here for the right reason, past members, and hopefully future members, about students first, about improving education for all students, but also being mindful of the community, the taxpayers, and obviously the teachers as well. So I don't want this to sound like it's an attack on anybody or anything. It's just that I feel like we have to represent all, and I think if somebody comes out, and I'll be more specific, if a teacher union supports a particular candidate and then they're elected on here, there's nothing wrong with that. I just feel like we might have to have a policy in place that restricts them from being part of negotiations. And the reason why is because if a family member or as a teacher here or even in another district, that excludes us from being part of negotiations. So with that being said, how can we be sitting here backed by the Teachers Association and then not have to go through that same, or it's a volunteer position, right? So we're here for hopefully the right reasons. But I just feel like if you are backed by them, do you have some type of allegiance or alliance to the people that back you when we should be representing everyone, teachers, taxpayers, and obviously students first. I believe the state law is that you are restricted or conflicted for 1 year after being backed by the teachers union. And personally, I think it should be your term. So if you're elected to a 3-year term, my opinion is that we should be conflicted for that term. If a subsequent term comes up and there is no backing, then that's done. It's just my opinion. I just want to see what other board members think. If I'm out of line or if you can kind of understand where I'm coming from, and then something that we just discussed moving forward to see if we should have a policy for the entire term as opposed to just 1 year based on what the state requirements are.
I do have a little bit more information to give you. Mr. Sprito and I spent some of the strategic planning time speaking with Ms. Hellowa from school boards because we had her captive. There is some new case law that offers a different perspective in that if the endorsed candidate did not receive financial gain from the teachers union, they are not precluded at all from anything. So that is the most recent case law. I'm not sure if we followed up with Mr. Fogarty yet. It is a matter of interpretation, as Ms. Hellowa continues to caution us, like case law can be interpreted differently. I understand where you're coming from. I also know as a candidate in last year's election, I didn't receive the email. I'm not saying they didn't send it. Maybe it went to my spam, maybe it went to my trash. But candidates they're not always seeking the endorsement. So, I mean, we could certainly ask for, see if there is a policy out there in any neighboring town, something we could look at. I'm sure Dr. Morell would be willing to examine it during a policy meeting.
Yeah, so I was gonna say that could be something that the committee can look up, but I do know that it runs into some legal issues, so we would have to consult with Mr. Fogarty about that. But to what Ms. Goff said, it's not illegal it's supposed to be nonpartisan, but anyone could endorse someone for that. And there does seem to be some gray area in terms of how that works out if you were endorsed by the teachers union. I know that there are some policies, just I don't know why I know this, but I was looking at it. It was more related to current board members and how they may endorse someone, and being mindful that it's not representative as in your role as a board member, but that's different from what you're talking about.
The case law that Ms. Hellas shared with us specifically was interesting, the newest case, because I don't remember the name of the town. She sent it to me, I'll have to look it up. They purposely endorsed a candidate they did not care for, knowing it would preclude them from negotiating on their behalf. So he then fought and won. He said, I didn't want your endorsement, I didn't take money from you, I want to negotiate. So that was the new, which who would think to do that, but that was the newest case law out there. The union purposely backed a candidate that they were not favorable of to keep this member from negotiating on their behalf. So that becomes a sticky wicket as well. We certainly can look and see what's out there as far as policies. I'm sure there's something out there.
Yeah, I can bring that up and I'll work with Mrs. Ferrito to see what we can find, and then as a committee we can discuss and then present it at the next board meeting.
Thank you. I apologize too, I didn't have my mic on, so hopefully.
I heard you, I'm sure they.
You guys can hear me in this room, I just don't know if I project for the camera, so.
I do have a comment on, just as you touched on the election, if the trend is going to be, what we had for this election, if that's the trend going forward, policy committee, whoever ends up with policy next year, absolutely, high fences make good neighbors. I think it makes sense to, be proactive about, trying to anticipate, how affiliations and endorsements, whether you seek or not, how that plays out. Also, parlaying into like our social media policy that we approved this year. I know Mr. Doyle was very glad that happened. That was something that he was big on. Also incorporating that into the campaign season, for those of us that are board members. It just again, high fences make the neighbors. Otherwise, you're just going off of your judgment. And there's plenty of gray areas out there. So
Yeah, it's definitely something to discuss with Mr. Corey. I just want to share again that it is not inappropriate for a political organization to choose to endorse someone, even if whether the person requested it or not. So I don't know really how much purview we have in terms of defining a policy and preventing someone from receiving an endorsement from somebody else. But that's for the lawyer, for us to refer to about that and what role our policy can play into that advice. Definitely I can see the social media part, like you said, looking back into our policy and what that might look like. I do believe it's more of a legal issue, that I don't know how much of a policy can play into that.
we are a policy-making body, and we have an attorney that we can advocate to.
Right, but we can't, so for example, I can't create a policy that limits somebody's freedom of speech either, right? So there's a balance to creating a policy that still is not in, that oversees some other state law or something like that. I honestly don't know, and I don't really have a feeling either way. The only concern is I do know that, and only because it's been, to your point, there have been several articles in newspapers, whether it's the Star Ledger or the Record, and a lot of those articles were referring to the various elections across New Jersey, where we all acknowledge that it is supposed to be, we're a nonpartisan body, and how it, in some communities, was very political and very outright of political parties outright campaigning with funds attached to it, not just endorsements. And so there was a lot of conversation about it, and I can only go on what I read in the article, and that was something they were like, unfortunately, it's frowned upon, but it's not illegal to do. So it's a weird space. So I kind of feel like it's definitely something we have to speak to Mr. Fogarty. To your point is, where is the little niche space that we can find ourselves in to then create policy?
I think part of, also, when, you mentioned the financial backing, and that's from any organization. So the endorsement can be just, the support can be just more than endorsement. What happens when it becomes financial? One of the challenges, and I'm not saying that, putting a policy is going to prevent that. If that's the trend, that's where we're at, it is what it is. But it does become a lot more challenging for independent candidates to participate in the process, for what that's worth. As far as the negotiations, not that we're trying to reduce the amount of people in negotiations, because that's a tough committee to be part of. It drags on and it's ongoing. And
I'll have you reelected. At least we're. But to your point, though, sorry. But to your point, you can't. I get it. You can't prevent somebody from. It's just like me. I come out and I say who I like out of the candidates, right? So there's nothing necessarily wrong with an endorsement. I do believe the financial piece is huge, because then it's a little bit more, motive there. Yeah, it's a difficult situation, but I just figured I'd bring it up and we see where it goes from there. And hopefully, for years to come, I'm not saying I'm not running anymore. It's just that as we continue to move forward, I just hope Hawthorne continues to be what we've been for a long time, and that's people caring about education, wherever you are politically or anywhere else, right? So as long as we can continue to be that way, then I think Hawthorne overall community education benefits. So we just have to do our part to make sure that continues to happen. Thank you. Are we going back around again, or one shot?
No,
Go
one and
ahead,
done.
buddy. I think you just did your
One and done.
business.
One and done. So congratulations to my fellow board members, Marco Satara and Alex Claveo, and in the crowd, Mike Doyle. Congratulations, on your election victory, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone here and everyone in the community. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Ms. Ehrentraut, any business?
Two things. Congratulations to our colleagues, Marco and Alex, on their re-election, and Mike Doyle, who's in the crowd. I believe I'm the only one here, or maybe Jay, who hasn't served with Mike, so welcome back. Second, I know last meeting we talked about the SHARE alumni group that was formed, and I did let Mr. Spirito know, but I wanted to let the board know and the community. It's much different now being an alumni. I guess we have a little bit more money. When you're in high school, we're scrounging, 20 years ago, looking for dollars and change. But our first fundraiser for the month of October, we were able to raise over $5,000 for 5 people within the Hawthorne community, 4 students and 1 teacher who have been ill. So we'll be issuing those checks to them, and it's just so awesome to be part of SHARE again, and that concludes my comments.
Mr. Totaro?
Yes, a few things. One regarding Executive Order 309. I know you shared that with us, Mr. Spirito. Have they spoken to when that group that's organized will be reporting back to us on their findings?
It said in the order by the end of January, I believe, is what it said in the executive order.
Okay.
Talking about the task force.
Yes, yes.
I believe it said by the end of January, if I remember correctly.
Okay. And for those that don't know, that has to do with teacher shortage, right?
Yes, the governor is creating a task force to address the teacher shortage across the state. Like I said, I believe it said he would have something by the end of January to share. I'm not sure. I have to look back, but I believe it's
Very optimistic and excited to see what they report back.
Really only shared on social media.
It was.
That's the only place I saw it.
How bizarre.
Ultimately, hopefully it benefits us, but I am intrigued.
He does have a website with all his executive orders.
Yes.
Yes, he announced.
He announced it there, yeah.
Yeah.
Secondly, I just want to thank the community, as well as all the administrators and teachers who attended the strategic planning. My first time participating in it, and I really was wowed over it. And just to kind of like see how everybody kind of just, the dialogue took place and everybody bounced off ideas with each other, and you just had that connection of community and seeing, the light bulbs go off, if you will, of how we can help the district as a whole. So I was really excited to see that, especially the last meeting when everybody got to share the different bullet points that are going to be included in the strategic plan. Also, thank you, Ms. Ambrose, regarding the grant. I know that takes effort. I know that not everybody understands how that process works, but it's your initiative to go out there and seek those grants, and I think as a result of that, the district is going to prosper in this occasion, utilizing towards our mechanical units. So thank you for that. And then lastly, I think it was just it was kind of mentioned, and I thank you, Dr. Morrow, and others for sharing it regarding you know, kind of like what the Newark school system did, and maybe like that's something that we can try to expand upon as a board. I know our budget may not accommodate a marketing director, but you know, I think that it's something that we can maybe utilize. And if there's anything I've seen this particular year and on the campaign trail, the use of social media in a positive format is maybe by, if we can get content created and sharing it with the board members. I think we were able to really put out a lot of items to the community, and I know I got a lot of positive feedback for things that they may not have saw directly on the website, but they may have seen through one of us. So maybe that's something that by doing that, we can essentially be a part of that marketing team and convey something like maybe the paraprofessional position, if that's something that a piece of content could be made and shareable to us. And then ultimately, you know, just in general, thank you to all the candidates in general that participated throughout the community. I think we had an exemplary amount of people participate in the process. And if anything, for me, it was encouraging just to see how many community members wanted to be engaged in the volunteerism through public service. And just, it was really exciting to just to be able to have that many people. Like, I remember personally, my first year, nobody wanted to even go against me, right? It was just like, we kind of like, what I mean by that is there was no challengers, right? We were just like, you know, you almost had to fight people just to participate in the process. So to have 8 people participate in it was just really exciting. And hopefully that continues for years to come, because ultimately our community is, you know, a little piece of what's on this board, and we can continue to serve the district. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gennaro. Mr. Clavio?
Similar to Mr. Totaro, I want to thank everybody that was part of the strategic planning, especially Mrs. Spirito. This is not something that every district does. Prior to Mr. Spirito coming on board, it's not something that we had done. At least that was, you know, part of it. So thank you for facilitating that. It doesn't happen without, you know, your buy-in and you making it happen. In regards to the candidates, like Marco said, likewise. I want to thank all the candidates that were out there. It does refine you as a board member, as a candidate, when you're out there and you're challenged and your ideas are challenged and you're exposed to different ideas. I want to encourage the members that the candidates that did not get elected to stay involved. I'm glad to see Toby Murphy in attendance. It just makes sense that with all the momentum you picked up and all the knowledge you've gotten from the community and specifically regarding the school board, just to build on that at that point, it just makes us stronger as a whole at that point. And last but not least, the community for caring about their school district, caring about education, caring about their community. They are passionate. They want to stay involved. They are listening, and just want to thank them for coming out and being passionately involved. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Clavio. Mr. Reichert?
Sure. Definitely congratulations, Mr. Clavio, Mr. Tamaro, and Mr. Doyle. I'm keeping your seat warm up here. No, congratulations, and as they said very eloquently, all the people running, if you did not win, there have been people in the past who have lost by 6 votes, 10 votes, all votes, and they've run 2 or 3 times and successfully gotten on and been on, you know, for a long time. So once you're out there in the community, if you run again, it's not that it's easier, but at least you have people who, you know your name and that type of thing, which is great. As far as the comments that you had were really great with the community outreach. We had a community outreach ad hoc committee for 3 or 4 years, and we tried to think of as many ideas as possible to get outreach in the in the community and have interpreters and think of all these different ways to reach everybody. So if anybody has any ideas, they would be welcome, because we tried. We exhausted so many different things to do more and more community outreach, and it's not that we came up with nothing. We did have some successful things that we did, but it's very difficult to communicate with everybody in the whole community, especially they don't speak English, it's just not Spanish. I think is it Washington? There's 85 or so different languages spoken. So it's not just Spanish. I mean, it's across the board. To try to reach as many people as we can. And that's it. I can obviously have the Thanksgiving and the whole thing. And that's it for my whole thing. It doesn't come back to me, right?
That's it, sir.
No, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Reicher.
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Shortway?
Yeah, also congratulations to Alex, Marco, and Mike. Great job. I want to thank Ms. Ambrose for helping me with the November 2022 bills. And it's my first opportunity to sit up here with Paul. Great to see you. And also, happy Thanksgiving.
Sir. Dr. Morrell?
Yes, Mrs. Spirito, I have a question about the Sergeant Bridge presentation. Has there been a discussion or consideration to having him present to 4th and 5th graders? Because they're just as well as involved and probably shouldn't be on some of these social media apps. But while I recognize the importance of that presentation with the middle school, I would ask that you consider, if you haven't already, that should also be appropriately modified, however that might be, for 4th and 5th graders as well. I also wanted to congratulate Mr. Totaro and Mr. Clavijo on their board on winning another term, and welcome back to Mr. Doyle. And then I also want to echo my sentiments to Toby and Erica and Danilo. I think I called everybody right. If I didn't miss anyone. Kiara and Hope. There you go. Old women mindset. I know I can speak for myself. It's putting yourself out there, and for someone who's a bit of an introvert, it's very uncomfortable to purposely go out and seek individuals and to do that. So it really, to me, is a rewarding to know that there was so much interest in wanting to be board members. In speaking to some individuals I know in some other states, there was one particular district that on their voting board, they had a question on the ballot to reduce the number of board members from 9 to 7 because they could not be quorum. And even though they had 3 open spots, only 1 person ran. So they, even with lowering it down to 7, they still only had 1 person who ran. So for me, I think that speaks well of us, that we do have individuals who want to be engaged in our school system and want to be a part of this Board of Education. So I really thank everyone, those who received that vote from the community, and for those who didn't, to really continue to be involved. I really appreciate the strategic planning meeting. I enjoyed it just to listen from the different perspectives. I think I did share with Kathy Helawa a suggestion in the future, if we do that there should be an assigned facilitator for the different rooms. Because I felt like when you first get there, there's like this awkwardness of like, what are we doing? Who's facilitating? And like we all kind of look around and we don't know what to do. So I think it might be helpful that there really is someone who just facilitates that process. Although obviously, inevitably, someone gets voluntold, or someone just does it, or sometimes there's a district staff member that's in the room, so they kind of by default become the facilitator. But that is feedback I gave to Kathy for the process. just, to keep people focused and moving along with that. I do want to go back to Mr. Totaro, something you said about publicity. That was something I remembered. So the workshop I attended was communicating in crisis or something like that. And I learned, I think I shared this with Mr. Spirito actually. So there are some districts that hire, for lack of a better word, think of like a publicist. And because right now our publicist is Mr. Spirito. So on top of the many other hats that he has to wear. So while you're not allowed to hire a full-time publicist as a school district, you could have someone function in that role on a part-time basis while they have something else. And so I had told Mrs. Spirito some of the creative ways how districts have done that. And so the person, so some districts, the person was also the parent liaison part-time and then the publicist part-time. Another person, they made it more of like an administrator role, and that person was like a director of special projects. Again, people being creative. Because special projects could be anything, but then they're also the publicist, and that was their full thing of, and I know that was something we heard consistently in the strategic planning meeting. We heard that from one of our community members that are here, in terms of how are we communicating what is happening in our district out to the public for both to educate, but I think also to publicize many of the wonderful things that are happening. So I just wanted to say that we could, that is something we can consider for something like that. And then lastly, just regarding Thanksgiving, my favorite holiday does tend to be Halloween, but a close second is Thanksgiving, and I think it's because it's a moment in time where we do come together and we reflect and learn to appreciate what we have and give thanks. And although sometimes I think people dread Thanksgiving because of whatever situations might be for family, but I do find it an opportunity to just take a pause and reflect and appreciate what we have. So I want to take that opportunity and say how appreciative I am to have this experience as a board member with the rest of you following along, and how well we work well with each other, and we can speak and share difference of opinions, but it's done so in a respectful manner. And I just really appreciate that, knowing how other boards function. And we are not dysfunctional, so I appreciate that. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone who's here. I like when people come to our board meetings. It just makes us, I just like it. I don't know other way to say that. So I'm appreciative of the fact that I live here in Hawthorne, and I had the opportunity to raise a family in such a wonderful community. So that's what I'm giving thanks for, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Dr. Morel.
I know my term was up. And I have one thing to add. Actually, at a school board thing several years ago, Montville, they hired someone who was a part-time publicist. And one of the things she did, she was a branding expert. She branded their whole district. So like their school colors for every single school, I think some other people went with me, like matched, all their mascots matched, like whether it was a circle or whatever the thing was, like when you saw something, if it came on letterhead, if it came on anything, like Montville, it all looked uniform, it all looked the same. So maybe it's something to look into if it...
We're doing that right now in Lyndhurst. I think I shared with you some of the stuff we're doing. It's a rebranding, and there's this swell of like spirit for the district and how we're all going with that. And I love my Fridays. My Fridays are Lyndhurst Pride Day, so everyone wears their Lyndhurst swag, and it's like the coolest thing ever.
I got mine from the videos, by the way. That was like when the videos not so long ago with the alumni, and also just speaking about the district, like that to me was like so exciting. I mean, I had so many
love that
comments.
alumni video. I really
Yeah,
did.
I mean, so much good feedback that we got from that, and even from like, you can see on social media, it tells you like how many people, the outreach when you put it out there, like there was a lot of good press on that, if you will, and thought we can build on that.
Yes.
When you think about the PR person, we're already managing social media accounts, so, right, I mean, that could dovetail to into that position. We've spoken about that in the past, right?
Yes.
And,
That, a grant
outsourcing.
writer, that was an extensive search at one point for us as well.
I think there was a company too, I forget the name of it, that actually did, you put one message out, it goes out in 15 different feeds like at once. But it comes back to also too, it wasn't free, to do, so there is a cost
It wasn't
associated.
exorbitant though, the cost, right? I mean, from what I recall, it was, and I know it was years back, but it wasn't more than $10,000.
Yeah, I don't,
Go ahead.
no, I don't remember the exact name of the company, but also, we're talking about 5 or 6 years ago. I'm sure now, there are more of those type of companies that you put your, they help you put your message out once, but not in one place. And maybe that could speak to also of get it out in places where people, English isn't their first language, or where they will go to find social media, put it as many places as possible. But one message and one person sends it 20 places instead of manually going, oh, put a Facebook here, Twitter there, whatever the places are. I'm sorry.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. But I think the challenge is when it's an outside company, they need to be fed the information, right? When you have somebody here, they can communicate with principals and other administrators and know what's going on in each building. So I think the outside, although it might not be that much of a cost, I think somebody would still be responsible to feed them the information that they can kind of share out. So there's always challenges. We have to kind of come up with solutions to.
Well, we can certainly have this conversation when we do our own goal setting and also when we look at the strategic plan data, because that was something that did come up. There was a continued thread that the consensus was everyone should be a bear. I know that is unfortunate in timing because we just branded each school with the graphics. But Quantic did a rebranding and every school is blue and white and every school is a Panther. You come in as a Panther and you leave as a Panther. And it does a lot for that buy-in. But this can be a larger conversation that we have as a board when we do look through the strategic plan, and this can sort of, the action plans are developed by Mr. Streeter and his team, but I mean, this feels like that would be part of something that may come out of the strategic plan anyway.
And as Dr. Morrell said, we have a great publicist right over there, but he's also doing 50 other things. So it would be something off of your plate to give you more time to attend to other things, possibly then to be the person who we all appreciate it, sending out all the messages, for the district. So maybe another benefit.
Bruce, I think if I recall correctly, the Montville situation was an overall branding where everybody was part of, like, here would be, Bears, but they also kept their individual school pride
Yes,
as
they did.
well. I have to look back and see if we can find some of that information, because they didn't rebrand everything the same color, like everybody being all blue. It'd still be the Rough Riders and Jefferson Jaguars and et cetera, but they were still, you grew up to be a Bear no matter what, right? But you see, you had your individual pride, but it was still somehow under the umbrella. And again, it was several years back, so I can't recall, but
I think the colors were the same, but they brought out like the fonts were the same for every single building, like
Yeah.
subtle things like that. So they all matched, but they kept their individual, they were individual schools too. They didn't take it, I remember that one. They didn't take it away from them, but just added to it.
Well, something that not everybody may know, because I just recently found out myself, is that Lincoln Middle School actually is now the Bears. They were the Blues. So that's a nice carry through that. First of all, many people don't know what a Baloo is. Unless you are a big Jungle Book fan, you may not know what that is. But so that is something that positively has happened recently. A Baloo is a baby bear or a cub. A Baloo. Okay, to wrap up.
I got one more thing.
Yeah, sure.
Community engagement, something that came up in the presentation yesterday at the St. County School Boards Association. Remember the QR code that they referenced? And I mean, that seems like that was very, if you could speak to it.
So the QR code had multiple functions to it, but Wayne uses something called Let's Talk. So Tamer, I don't know if you want to Google that, because I'm not really sure what it is, but Let's Talk is just a way that they capture community feedback. I utilized a QR code that still allows community members that as they review health curriculum They present questions and I'll respond to them, but I keep adding it to an FAQ document. So it's a manner of, as a way of engaging the community and seeking input continuously through the QR code. So it's really just for me, I just created a regular Google form and then created a QR code for that Google form. But Wayne utilizes something called Let's Talk, which again, I'm not that familiar with it, but it's essentially like an app that it opens and allows community feedback to be collected, and then ultimately they use it however they use it.
Has that input been positive for the most part? Right, because once you open it up, you're
Yes, so part of my presentation at the Passaic County School Board Association was sharing how we rolled out our health curriculum, our changes, and how we engage the community in that process. And it was initially first conversations with the board, then there was an incident that happened in a district in Union County, which kind of like blew up a little bit in my district, where they thought we had adopted that curriculum and it wasn't. That was just something that was floating around. So, but I think what was important for us was to be very transparent and have an open dialogue back and forth with our community about our health curriculum and sharing exactly what did it look and it sound like in Lyndhurst. And with that information for Wayne, they took a different process where the lessons they developed, the community was a part of that process. So that was their process. My process was similar to a certain extent, but mine was more just collecting information and hearing from the community that really ranged the continuum. But there was, they felt included in that process. So it ended up being helpful. I don't have as many opt-outs in my district. I think Wayne yesterday said they have about 15%. Again, Wayne is a very large district, so 15% might seem like a lot, but not as much when you consider how many students are in Wayne. So I think for me, it really was just having an open communication. And this is interesting. I'm going to dovetail because something Jen and I, we were speaking to someone at the strategic planning meeting, and they were saying that I know we have a Hawthorne Board of Ed email, and I think we had asked you, Mrs. Frida, like does anybody really send questions through that? And it's not much, or it's like junk email that we get. So I know that was one way of, again, how do we really seek out the community involvement and feedback to give to us. That's always open, and I don't know that that's necessarily the intent of that Hawthorne Board of Ed email, but that's really where the Let's Talk and my QR code kind of functions. It's a communication where they gave feedback about the health curriculum.
They did email the recording for the presentation yesterday, so, and I forwarded it to the group. I would encourage you to, forward to the presentation that Dr. Morel puts together and the assistant superintendent from Wayne. Not being a professional in the education field, there was a lot that I learned, the difference between the standard curriculum, just like crystal clear. I mean, I appreciate how that broken down. So it is in the email, so I encourage everybody just to forward to it and just keep watching. We're fortunate enough to have a professional in the field as part of the board. So.
Thank you, everybody. One comment I have is that for the show in the fall, December show, is it Lincoln, you said?
Nice.
It's high school. It's something we had talked about in the past, sort of a PR thing and how we can get our Lincoln kids maybe interested in the high school. Can we do something where, I know that in the spring we thought about using it as a field trip. I don't know if they did for the fifth graders.
The fifth graders came up to the high school to watch the
Maybe they could do, give everyone in the middle school a ticket and they can go for free to sort of motivate them to get to go, give them a little PR, send down tickets, basically they go home with it or something. I don't even know. What is the show? Do we know what it is?
It's
Not as snazzy of a title as Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but it's something to get them to go to. a way to just see that. I know there are Lincoln Middle School students that have never stepped foot in that high school, never stepped foot in high school. So just getting them in the door, I think, is important, and any way we can get them in the door. I would like to again thank our participants in the audience. We don't often have people that come. As Dr. Morrell says, I'm a huge fan of people and their input. I was a very big driving force in that strategic plan. I want to hear what you have to say. We want to hear what you have to say. When you don't come, we don't know. Writing things on Facebook is not the best way to communicate with bodies of people. The election brought out some pretty terrible things on social media, but the exchange tonight was so positive and respectful, and that I'm very thankful that you guys, your entourage, and that you came out to share your thoughts with us. We are always here to listen, and respectful conversation is exactly that's how it's supposed to be done. Additionally, I just want to wish a happy Thanksgiving to my fellow board members, and I will just wrap up by saying I am a first-time football mom, first year that he played, and we have all drank the Kool-Aid. All of the Goths now have drank the Kool-Aid, but I bled blue before. I'm not from Hawthorne, but I'm here by choice, I like to say, not by birth, by choice. But if you really ever question the magic of Hawthorne, go down to the field on a Friday night and watch a game. I mean, it is really something. And that is a testament to the community and to everybody here, not just football games. I went to the flag football games for the girls. I don't have a daughter that plays, but I was there. We've been to soccer games. We've been to basketball games. I mean, it's just the interscholastic sports, the clubs, to Mr. Reischer's point, those extracurricular activities really, 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 really speak volumes about our community. Not to diminish the academics, absolutely, but those extra things I think really are a huge part of what and who we are, and I'm very thankful for all of those opportunities. My son just joined Share last month, so I'll get to experience that. He sold some candy bars, but those things, peer leaders, those things are really amazing, and Hawthorne does a great job of those things. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Our next meeting is December 13th. We'll be back here again for then, and I hope to see everybody as well.
No executive.
No, I'm sorry, there is no executive session, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Morrell, seconded by Mr. Shortway. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Clavija?
Yes.
Mrs. Ehrentraut?
Yes.
Dr. Morrell?
Yes.
Mr. Palouse?
Yes.
Mr. Reischer?
Yes.
Mr. Shortway?
Yes.
Mr. Santoro?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes, I forgot to say congratulations to my two fellow board members, and welcome back to Mr. Doyle, who I served with.
It's not official now, it's after.
I know! And the little